Hello friend, how are you? You're welcome to my channel. This is Locsnchronicles and I am your girl Opsy baby. On this channel I do videos on social work. Once in a while my locks, I showcase my locks, and I also generally take you through my chronicles as an immigrant in the UK, originally from Nigeria. I just want to give a mention to all of you who have been dropping so many testimonials, so many great things happening to you. Those of you gaining admission to study social work, those of you even getting jobs from outside the UK, getting social work jobs with sponsorship from outside the UK, to practice in the UK. I'm so excited, and these things keep me going because actually, the time that I put in, I know you might think, oh, I've not been consistent, but the time that it actually takes me to sit down and do this video and edit it, in hours, if I was doing work, I would be paid, it's not even triple, maybe like times 1,000. So, but your testimonies just keep me going and encourage me to keep doing more, because I say that I am making a positive impact and I'm so humbled. And I feel so blessed, so thank you. In today's video I just want to give you my career update. Yes, again, I know I gave you one, I think in the middle of the year, or maybe the first quarter of the year. I gave you a career update, and thank you all for all your advice, and I took some of them on board and they've been really helpful. Yes, in October I marked 2 years of being registered as a social worker. Yes, I can't believe it. The time has flown by so quick. I still miss saying I'm a newly qualified social worker. I still miss that, but hey, yeah, it's been 2 years since I've been practicing as a social worker in the UK. I did my ASYE in a local authority, where I was working in mental health setting for about a year and roughly 18 months. So that's why I did my ASYE, and then I made the move. So I moved from the local authority and I moved to work within the NHS. And I see a lot of people asking me if the NHS employs social workers. Yes, the NHS employ social workers, and I work within the NHS, still in a mental health setting. So currently I work in one of the access hubs, so you call it the mental health access hub and home treatment team. So that's where I work currently, and this used to be known as the crisis team. So I'm just going to talk to you about some of the things that I do in this role as a social worker in the mental health crisis team. So I'm going to be honest, this is a very it's a highly medicalized team, and it's so difficult to practice under the social model without the medical model kind of overpowering or overshadowing the team. But I keep reminding myself why I went into that team, and I keep saying to myself, I have to keep saying to myself, I am a social worker, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, and my job there is as a social worker. Even though most of what we do, nurses and social workers, we're called registered professionals, so anybody can do most of the things except like the medical things like giving injection, taking bloods, clinical checks and things like that. So I'll just give you like a brief overview of the kind of things that I do in this job. So I triage patients. So when somebody feels that they're in crisis, or their GP feels that they're in crisis, or a friend or anybody feel like they're in crisis and they make a referral to this team, my job is to go through that referral and triage. And most of the triaging that we do is on the phone, so I'm basically trying to speak to the person or to the referrer, trying to have an understanding of what the issues are, and then basically knowing, just assessing if I need to straight away refer them to another team, signpost them to another team or another organization, or maybe it's an emergency, it needs to be dealt with ASAP, an ambulance needs to be called, the police need to be involved, or maybe I need to actually bring them in for a face-to-face assessment just to be able to find out a bit more history and understand the problems a bit more. And this is a very difficult part of the job, because you're triaging someone on the phone is mainly based on the cues that you're catching from the conversation, from the communication, or that you're not even catching. It's basically based on what they're telling you or what they're not telling you. And it's so difficult because, you know, if you kind of make a wrong judgment or a wrong assessment, the consequences can be very can be so much, can be so bad, you know, on the people that you triage. And to say that I found it daunting is saying the least. It's been a bit difficult, but what's been really helpful is the fact that I was coming from a really difficult team where I used to do a lot of duty work, and I used to speak to people on the phone, and I used to assess the situation based on the conversations then. So this experience has really helped me in this role that I am in. So that's the triaging bit. Another thing that I do in this role is assessments, a lot of assessments. So the biggest assessment that we do, like the trusted assessments, the initial assessment where, before, you know, when someone's coming in newly into the mental health services, most of the time they're not known to services, or they've not been with services for a while, and you have to do an assessment, and you have to go through the history, the background from childhood into adulthood, if there was any abuse, if there was any, you know, bullying, if there was, you know, how the mental health problems developed and what the current situation would be, the triggers. And then you look basically at what the, you know, your assessment is basically looking at how to resolve the crisis. So that is the trusted assessment. That's another thing that I do in this role. We also do storm assessments. So in this role, I do storm assessments, and storm assessment basically is like suicide and self-harm assessments. I'm sorry if I'm boring anybody, but I'm sure for you to be watching this video, you must want to know what I do. Having suicidal or self-harm thoughts, some of them have intent, some of them have plans, and basically it's to look at all of that with a view to creating or completing a safety plan with them on how to keep them safe, basically, you know. And this assessment has to be very thorough because you don't want to miss anything. This assessment also sometimes entails you removing the actual risks or the tools that someone might want to use to maybe complete suicide or hurt themselves in any way, or just manage the risks that are involved if they cannot be removed. It's also looking at the support network that somebody has. Here you go, I'm tutoring you about mental health. So that is another thing that I do in my job team. We also do a lot of home treatments, and home treatment is basically following up. Someone's been in hospital, mental health hospital, they've come out of hospital, we're trying to keep them in the community, and we're looking at how to just follow up from the treatment they had in hospital, or maybe we want to prevent them from going into hospital, you know, prevent hospital admission. And what we do, we might have to home treat. That is helping them, making sure, observing that they're taking their medication, seeing if they're maintaining their nutrition, seeing if they are like socializing, if there's any group that we can signpost them to, just to help them remain in the community. It's very vast, so I'm just giving you quick just giving you snippets of the role. So that's what I do now. And in this role, I move around quite a lot. I use a lot of petrol. I'm in the cold most of the time. I'm moving from door to door. When I'm home treatment, when I'm doing my assessment, sometimes it's not in the actual hospital. I'm moving around into people's homes, because when people are in crisis or when they're experiencing anxiety around going out, sometimes we need to go to them. I also have to give you like the difficult bits that I've experienced in this role. Sadly, in this role, we hear a lot about people ending their lives. People who have been, you know, sometimes been in contact with the team. You know, people who have been in hospital. People who have had mental health act assessments. You know, and it's just a really sad part of the role, most of the time we do try, and most of the time we prevent these sad events from happening, but the unfortunate incidents where it just still happens, it's still there, and it's very draining. It is very draining, because when things like that happen, when people end their lives, or when people take massive overdoses, or when people self-harm, and it's like really bad, there has to be investigations as to why it's happened. So that it might come to the point where maybe you might be told that you have not done something properly. It might even be a legal issue. It is serious. It is very serious. So I do not take the job that I do lightly. It's very serious. I can't give you details because these people's lives are involved and people's families are involved, but that is a very sad reality of the job that I do. And that is on one aspect. Another aspect is because we're constantly doing this, we're constantly supporting people who are very unwell mentally. It does take its toll on us. It takes its toll on me, I have to say. But I just learned very quickly in my career on how to I learned a lot of resilience. I also have faith. I'm a Christian, and I have learned how to tap into my faith and how to tap into my beliefs, just to kind of find peace. And I do a lot of things. I take myself away from it sometimes. I book holidays. Sometimes I just, I have to let my husband know that I'm not feeling very great. Sometimes I remove myself from the family and I just take some time out. I talk to my family, I talk to my sister. My parents are always praying for me. So it is a tough job. But every time I thought about not doing it and maybe just going into adults where I don't have to, social work is hard. It's hard everywhere. But just going into something less draining, I haven't found much fulfillment or joy even in the thoughts. So I know there's a reason why I'm where I am, and if it's just to prevent one more suicide, I always say to myself, or prevent one more self-harm, or just tell somebody that there is hope, just there is hope. And just look at the triggers and look at the issues that people are having and how they can be supported. It just gives me so much joy. Like, at this point in time, I'm still finding fulfillment in it, but that's just like a part of the job that is just so hard, and you just have to learn so much resilience and so much emotional strength whilst you're in this job. I'm sorry about the noise coming from downstairs. So yeah, that's one part of the job that I have found hard, and that is actually really hard. I think another part of this job is that I mainly work from the office. Not that I even mainly work from the office. I work from the office. So when I was going to start the job, there used to be a bit of working from home where you could actually start from home and you didn't have to like start from the office. So now that is no more. We all have to start from the office. We all have to start, and it's an 8 o'clock start. And because it is located in a hospital, everybody is going in there at the same time, so I have to leave home really early to be able to start at 8 o'clock, and that is really hard because sleep wise, you don't get much sleep when you've been on a long day the day before, and then you're going the next day and you still have to get up really early. It's so hard. But the good thing is I get to do my hours in 3 days. So 3 days and I'm done. I get to do my hours for the week. I still don't work full time. I do about 34.5 hours, and I do those hours in 3 days, which is really good, which means I can go on short breaks and I can do things with my life, in those other days. But the thing is, because you're so knackered working those long shifts in those days. By the time you're off, you're just almost useless. You know, you're almost useless. You have to be very intentional about actually doing things for you to be able to achieve anything in those days when you're rough. I know I know a lot of people ask me, should I go into mental health? How do I actually know what to go into? I'm going to tell you how I actually went into mental health and the reason I am practicing in mental health. But just know this, if you're someone who gets bored easily, you don't like things boring, you just want things to keep happening, you're challenged when everything is just going on, when no 2 days are the same, then definitely consider going into mental health. Because there you would find that you're always challenged, you always find, you know, things to keep you on your toes, on your feet. Because it's quite fast paced and you have to use your brain a lot. So yeah, are you a social worker? Where do you practice and how did you actually decide where you wanted to practice? Just leave me a comment. If you have questions about mental health practice, let me know. I'll be very happy to answer them. Just leave a comment on this video. Even if you're going to come to my DM, just leave a comment on this video, just like it and share it so that YouTube knows that this video is relevant. And if your questions are more private, you can come to my DM on Locsnchronicles to ask your questions. So yes, till I come your way next time, always remember that I really do love you. Take care. Bye.